For those of you joining us, the Danville Town Council meeting will begin shortly. Okay, it is time. Okay, it's 5:00 p.m.
Great, thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Danville Town Council meeting of February 1st, 2022. Also coincides with the new Lunar New Year. Marie Sinceri, our city clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Councilmember Fong.
Here.
Councilmember Morgan.
Here.
Councilmember Stepper. I see she's here. Vice Mayor Storer.
Here.
And Mayor Arnerich.
Here.
All council members are present.
Great, thank you. And Marie, would you please make the announcement?
Sure. This meeting is being held by teleconference only on Zoom, and a recording of this meeting, as well as any written public comments, will be made available on the town website. All of Danville's meeting agendas have information on how to participate in public meetings. To provide live comments during this meeting, use the raise hand feature in Zoom. And when the mayor opens up the item for public comment, raise your hand and your name will be announced. And only your audio will be enabled. And you're asked to state your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Marie. We're also joined tonight, and they will be with us throughout the meeting, our town manager, Joe Calabrigo, and our city attorney, Rob Ewing. We'll also be joined from time to time by various staff members who will come in to speak and provide input on specific items. Next item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. And tonight we're very proud to have our Danville Chief of Police, Alan Shields, with us. Alan, it's all yours.
Mayor, I appreciate the honor to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone would please join me by placing your hand over your heart and follow after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief. And we're looking forward to hearing from you as you an exciting opportunity tonight to introduce 5 of our new police officers, and we'll get to you guys shortly here. This will take us to item number 3, which is changes to the order of the agenda. And tonight, I believe, Joe, our city manager, we have 1 item.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Arnerich, members of the council. We do have an item that we would recommend that you add this evening is item number 5.3 under presentations and proclamations. This is a proclamation in recognition of Asian Pacific Islander American Public Affairs Association and Bay Valley Chinese School celebrations of the Lunar New Year. Because the need to place this on to our agenda arose less than 72 hours prior to the posting of the meeting, we would ask that the council make a motion in order to add this as item number 5.3.
And I just want, thank you.
I'll second that.
It's been moved, seconded by, I just want to apologize. It was my fault and Dave Fong's fault. We were working on this and we were 1 day off, so we apologize. So it's been moved and seconded.
All right, Mayor, and I'll make sure we put that in the motion as well, that it was your fault. And
yeah,
David, I'm
thank you.
sorry.
Thank you. Okay, I take it. Stab me here. This is the first time, I think it's 27 years I've been here, that the Lunar New Year also occurred on the same night that we were having our council meeting. So how exciting.
But I'd like to note that it's an urgency, so we require 4/5 vote,
Great.
which will.
So seeing no further discussion, Marie, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Councilmember Fong,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Stepper,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Storer,
Yes.
and Mayor Arnerich.
Yes.
Unanimous to add item 5.3, presentation of a proclamation to the agenda.
That also will bring us good luck for the entire year. So thank you for that.
With that, Mr. Mayor, we have no further changes.
Great. Thank you, Joe. All right, this takes us to item number 4, and this is for the good of the town. This is an opportunity for anybody in our attendees to speak on anything that's not on tonight's agenda. Because it's not on the agenda, we can't take any action or really discuss that, but can consider it for further attention at a study session at a later date. And Marie, first, do we have any written comments received for the good of the town?
There were no written comments received today.
Okay, great. So please raise your hands. And Marie, it looks like we have one person. It does not have a name, but I suspect I know who that is. Contra Costa, welcome. Is this Veronica Benjamin?
Yes, this is. I'm sorry, I have the 2 Zoom accounts.
That's okay. Veronica,
file.
welcome. Welcome. It's delightful to have you back. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much for this time. So yes, my name is Veronica Benjamin. I'm here to first wish you all a Happy New Year. I wasn't here to wish for the Gregorian calendar, but I made it for the Chinese lunar calendar. So I hope you all have an auspicious year. I would like to acknowledge your acknowledgement of Black History Month and commend the Town Council for being to making this commitment to inclusivity. I hope this is the first of many actions that the Town Council plans on bringing to just update and modernize our town in our approach to how we can bring each other into the fold and interact with sincerity. I also came on today just to remind everyone that roughly a week from now, on February 9th, would have marked Latimer Arbolade's 37th birthday. So, my group, where we're, continuing to lift up the names of Latimer as well as Tyrell. And I know, thank you, Mayor, for applying to that email I'd sent last week. And I will try to pursue getting permanent memorials through the official channels. But just on this auspicious occasion, I just wanted to say it would be wonderful for our town, for the sake of remembrance, for the sake of honoring, and for the sake of Asian American and Pacific Islander, as well as African American inclusion. Just to keep these men in mind, these men and their families. Also pivoting back towards Black History Month, I just wanted to mention that my small group will hopefully host a speaker who is very knowledgeable about the Port Chicago disaster. Because that's a very significant item of American history that happened to affect many African Americans in our area. And I feel that it's not that well known about, especially the fact that many of those young men who perished or who refused to go back to very dangerous working conditions were charged with mutiny, and that was never expunged from the record. So anyway, I'm in touch with a very knowledgeable speaker on this topic, and I hope to update you all for when we get that talk arranged towards the end of the month. So thank you once again. And we would also, going to Tyrell and his family, would really appreciate an update. Actually, the Town Council had updated the town regarding the coroner's inquest, and that was supposed to be for early January. We've been in contact with the sheriff, and they just keep on saying it's coming. But if you guys could use any power you may have to leverage and get a real response from the sheriff on when that investigation will wrap up and be made public, we'd really appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.
Veronica, thank you. And yes, to both things, we will do follow up. And please do let us know the time and date of that event. We look forward to that. I would also just add that the council at its annual workshop will be considering making proclamations such as what we're going to read in a few minutes, our normal governance, and not that we have to wait for somebody in the community to request those. And we're looking at the entire calendar across the spectrum. And we look forward to having that discussion. And then we're also, as part of that discussion, be looking to make sure that we, on an annual basis, post all of those proclamations, to consider having them celebrate throughout the year on our website, that people can look at those and again, see that that's the normal way actions are done here in Danville. So thank you for that. Our next speaker is Karen Beck. Karen, welcome back. And maybe it's not Karen. Last time I think it was your husband.
It is Steve again.
Steve, I'm sorry.
That's all right. We're on Karen's tablet here. And
Okay, welcome.
yeah,
And Marie, if you want to
that, but then we'd have to learn how to do something new.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is Steve Beck. And Karen and I are residents of Danville. Karen and I would like to acknowledge the good work that was done by DA Beck and her staff in bringing Officer Hall to trial and conviction. We feel that our town needed closure on this case. DA Beckton's actions stand in a great contrast to the DA candidate, Mary Knox, who publicly fought to keep this case from going to trial. That would have been a great injustice. So we're glad to see the result that were achieved by the DA's department. Thank you.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. Is there anybody else here in the attendees who would like to speak? If so, please raise your virtual hand. Seeing none, then I'll close that public hearing and bring it back to the council. And this will take us to the next item on our agenda. And tonight, we are delighted, as we mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, and you will see some really fascinating new of the officers who are coming to Danville. They're already here, actually. And this is kind of the new generation that we've been looking forward to. And tonight, we're going to have an introduction by our Chief of Police, Alan Shields. Alan, take it away.
Mayor, I appreciate it. And thank you. This is a great honor for me to introduce the deputies that the sheriff is sending on his behalf to serve this community. And I want to first start out by saying that all of these deputies that come down, like all of the deputies that have come before them, they all start in the same path. And so these are well-trained and skilled deputies that aren't starting at day one, but with years of service, as you'll see. All of our deputies that come down here, especially this group here, have went through our jail program where they're immersed in the jail environment, which takes that technical skill that they learned like in the police academy and through training and dealing with people with mental illness and with addiction. And they're then immersed in a practical environment where they can train those skills so that when they come to Danville, they are very well trained and ready to hit the ground running. And we're happy to have all of them here. One of the things that we do when we bring new officers down, though, is we sit down and we interview them, and we want to know, why it is that they want to come to work to Danville, because the sheriff's office has a lot of pretty exciting assignments. We've got helicopters, boats, all kinds of things. And we really want to know, why is it that you want to work here in Danville? And every single one of the deputies that I'm going to introduce, the officers that I'm going to introduce, said the same thing, that they wanted to come to an area where they could serve a community and really work to make people's lives better. And they wanted to do it here because, frankly, because of all of you, Mayor and Town Council. Well, this is embarrassing.
That's okay.
So because of all of you, because you fund the department so well that there is discretionary time where officers can be proactive, they can work through cases. So when a case is presented to them and someone says, hey, I've been a victim of a crime, that our officers here will have the time to do the follow-up. And that's what got a lot of these new people, new officers to Danville very excited. So let me start off with Dylan Hume. Dylan Hume is one of our...
Excuse me, Chief, can we ask all of the officers to turn their videos on?
Yeah, sorry.
Instead of one at a time, we'd like to see you. I think everybody else, Adonis and Gabriel.
Here, let me...
Welcome to all of you, and a special welcome to Dylan. My apologies. Go ahead, Chief.
All right. Maybe that was my alarm going off on my phone saying, turn on the camera. Maybe, I don't know. All right. So first off, I'd like to introduce Dylan Hume. Dylan, if you could just wave real quick. So Dylan is our most experienced officer that is coming down to us. He joined the sheriff's office in 2012. He's a field training officer. In fact, he's trained two of the other officers that are coming down here and working here today, and that we're going to introduce. Dylan was a maritime enforcement specialist, second class with the U.S. Coast Guard Reserve for 6 years. And he did that prior to and while working here. He enjoys spending time with his family, camping, barbecuing, riding dirt bikes. And just a little bit ago, we were talking about dirt bikes, and I realized I thought I liked riding dirt bikes, but he's immersed in that. So he really loves spending that time outside. And then anything, motorsports related, he really enjoys. But what is great about Dylan is Dylan has a training mentality as an FTO. He brings a lot to the table as far as having witnessed a lot of our deputies and officers that have gone through training. And what I've seen so far is that he's done a good job of hitting the ground running. He's already had a couple of pretty serious cases, and he's done an excellent job at following through on those. And so we're happy to have him down here. And I think the thing I was excited about was, I found out that he liked to ride motorcycles, and I thought, wow, this would make a great motor officer. And instead, I was like, hey, are you thinking about being a motor? He's like, no, I really want to do this investigations. I want to follow up. And, when someone's been a victim, I really want to make sure that I can find out who did it and get the property back and go through that. So that's exciting when people want to work and they want to do more than you think an officer coming down may want to do. So it's good to see that we've got folks coming down that want to hit the ground running. Next, I'd like to introduce Megan Morales. Megan, if you could wave. Okay, so Megan comes to us. She actually started with the sheriff's office in 2016, and she started as a civilian employee. And then a couple of years later, I think to the day, joined us as a deputy sheriff. And again, she started through the jail and went through that. And she has actually come down here and she hit the ground right into that school resource officer position at Monte Vista High. So she joins Alma Tinajero as one of our 2 youth resource officers. Prior to coming here, though, she's got a unique experience that I think will help us, in that she worked for juvenile probation in Orange County. And so she brings something that your usual deputy or officer may not come to Danville with. And then she was also a CSO, which is a community services officer at UC Santa Barbara. In her personal time, she enjoys spending time with family, baking, and spending time in the foothills. So I think we're all looking forward to some time down here, maybe some baked goods and some hikes in the hills. See if we can join some of those mixers that we used to put on all the time. Next, I'd like to introduce Brandon Trolette. Brandon came to the department in 2019. And Brandon, if you could just wave real quick. All right. So I actually know Brandon's dad. Brandon's dad and I worked in the jail together. So Brandon's dad is also a deputy with the sheriff's office. So that makes Brandon a legacy employee for us. So he is a 2nd generation deputy sheriff, and we're proud to have him down here. He was in the Marine Corps from 2014 to 2018. And he too enjoys spending time with family, riding dirt bikes, and bowling. So we're waiting to see him out on the lanes. I know all of you in the council know Juliet Kelly, my assistant. So I did challenge Brandon to bowl against Juliet. Juliet has, I think, 2 or 3 300 games under her belt. So we'll see if Brandon's the bowler that he says he is, and we'll see if he's up to that challenge. But Brandon actually sought out Danville because he had a very unique idea that he wanted to work traffic enforcement. So he came down here and was immediately assigned to our traffic unit to try to reduce those accidents and keep people safe in town. So we're happy to have Brandon join our team. Next, I'd like to introduce Adonis Dawkinbaugh, and it's pronounced like it sounds, Dawkinbaugh. So Adonis Dawkinbaugh he came to us in 2020, but he spent 8 years in the Marine Corps and did 3 overseas deployments. And these are like legitimate deployments. And I know all of you know that I was in the Air Force and I flew on AWACS. They weren't like Air Force deployments where you spend 45 or 60 days. These are like legitimate long deployments in some pretty tense environments. So hats off to him and all the Marines that serve and head overseas. Like the rest of the new officers to town, Adonis likes spending time with family, finding new places to eat. So we're trying to point him to our downtown area and say, go wild down there, because there's lots of good places to eat there. And he's doing one thing that frankly I don't have the courage to do, and that is he's learning the bass guitar. I've tried doing it with YouTube videos and all that, and I can't get these fingers and these fingers to do the same thing at the same time. So I've given up. So kudos to Adonis for figuring out how to work a guitar, because I can't do it.
Chief, he needs to meet with our city attorney and maybe get in a band.
I
City
haven't
attorney
told him
plays a
about the
premium
second
one,
floor
too.
band yet. Yeah, that's right. And I think Andy Dillard, who I just saw is on this call, is part of that band too. So there's some musicians in the room here. All right. So last but not least is Gabriel Williams. And I don't know if I said it at the start, but I was introducing everybody in order of seniority. So Gabe is our newest deputy, and he comes to us from 2020. He joined the sheriff's office, and he enjoys fishing, camping, spending time with his girlfriend. And what's unique about Gabriel is he actually has done jujitsu for 17 years. And that is an incredible skill. And for law enforcement, it's very, very valuable. And he will, I hope, grow to become an asset for the entire department. If you don't know what jujitsu is, it is a form of grappling and wrestling. It's probably one of the preeminent forms. And it allows, well, let me say this. When I've seen officers that are very skilled, that have 17 years of experience, they are very good with de-escalation, with using lower means of force before higher means of force. So we're happy to have someone that has devoted so much of their personal time to a skill that can benefit the entire department as well as the residents here in town. So we're happy to have Gabe Williams on. And Mayor, Vice Mayor, Town Council, this is your new officers assigned to Danville, and please join me in welcoming them to the town.
Congratulations. It actually looks like at least 3 or 4 of you might be on duty right now based on the backgrounds. So we appreciate you taking the time. But Dylan, Megan, Brandon, Gabriel, and Adonis, we look forward. We normally, if we were meeting live, we'd actually get to shake your hand, and so we can all get to know you. But we look forward to stopping by when you're on duty. And we appreciate you choosing to work with us here in our community, and to help make lives better and help make our police department the best that it can be. So thank you. Let me go to council members and just to add comments. Councilmember Renee.
Councilmember Renee, used to be Jess Morgan. You know, we're all confused here, but first of all, thank you all for becoming a part of the Danville family. We want to welcome you all. Thank you so much for being here. Brandon, when you are doing, are any of you motorcycle or no? Did you say, Alan, that you had somebody? You are. Okay, that's what I thought. I wasn't sure. And then Dylan, you're doing patrol, correct? So I'm trying to figure out who's who. And then the others are also patrol, Adonis and Gabriel. And then Megan, you are our new resource officer at Monte Vista. Okay, I just wanted to clarify. Thank you all so much for devoting your time to our community, being a part of our family. And I look forward to meeting you in person, not as I'm driving my vehicle, but unless you just want to pull me over and say, hey, how's it going? Other than that, I look forward to meeting you in person sometime. So thank you all for your service to our town.
Great, thank you. Robert?
Great. And each of you, thank you. I know you have a lot of choices in the Sheriff's Department, and I really appreciate you choosing Danville. And we have a community that respects our law enforcement. We have kids that look up to our police officers. I appreciate the time that the chief has spent in not only the community, but in our schools. And Megan, you're going to find that the Monte Vista environment, as well as Santa Ramon Valley High School, just tremendous environments. So I think you'll thrive really well there. And to each of you, congratulations and welcome to Danville. Nicely done to each of you.
Great, thank you. Karen?
All right, thank you very much. It's great to see 5 new faces here. We welcome you warmly. It's always been our highest priority to budget for our police officers. I think that's true in most cities, but in the town of Danville, we've been the safest city for 4 years running in. We know that comes from an attitude that says it's up close and personal, that you go out with the coffee with the cops, with the recess with the kids. I know that's with the cops also, sorry, Chief Shields. It's just a way to make sure that you're interacting personally with people and that they have a face to put with it. And I believe the last time I heard Ellen Shields speak, that it was the goal that everybody in town should have somebody on the police force that they can know by first name and feel really comfortable getting that information from you, as well as the rest of your officers and your fellow officers. So welcome to you as part of our team. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Dave?
Yeah, welcome to all of you, and thank you for being part of our community. On behalf of the community, we have a real partnership between the community and law enforcement, and it's been a fantastic investment over the long term. And Ellen Shields has really been the point on behalf of law enforcement, working very closely with the community so that we could truly personalize that relationship. And to be honest with you, that's why we are a great town today. But we know that with your contribution and participation, that you'll continue to strengthen not only the relationship that you have with the town, but really avoid and prevent crimes from being committed in our community.
Thank you, Dave. Normally, if you were at our town meeting hall, you'd be the speaker. And so, if for the five of you, if you wanted to unmute for a second, if you just want to say hello or anything briefly you'd like to share with us, Megan, Dylan, Adonis, Gabriel, or Brandon, anything you guys would like to say?
Looking forward to meeting with you guys and working with the community and making some sort of a difference. It's gonna be really fun. I enjoy working with the people that we have here and working with the group over the department. It's been fun so far, and like Chief said, looking forward to hitting the ground running.
Thank you. Adonis?
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to meeting all of you, and hopefully not in the driving spectrum that she mentioned earlier.
Thank you, Adonis.
And by the way, in the Marine Corps, there's no easy deployment, period. It's the Marine Corps.
That's only the Air Force.
Anybody else, Megan or Gabriel? Brandon?
Like the others say, thanks for having us, and look forward to working in this community, getting to know each of you guys and getting to know the community as well. And if I see you on the street, I'll wave. If I see you on the bowling alley, in the lanes, we'll bowl.
We'll look forward to it. Gabriel, and then Megan.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be a part of the team and glad to be part of the department, and looking to really help the community in any way I can. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Megan?
I'm really excited to continue to work with the schools. It's been a nice change from County Patrol. We definitely have a good relationship with the community, and we are very lucky to have this assignment. So I look forward to working with all of you.
Great, Megan. We look forward to great things from you. Robert?
Chief, just out of curiosity, who did we lose to gain these five?
Oh boy, now you're going to test my memory. It's actually, to be frank, Vice Mayor Storer, it's been an attrition over the last 6 to 8 months. So there are several folks that we've lost over that time.
And how long will this period of time, how long can we expect these officers to be in Danville?
So the minimum commitment is 4 years. However, and I'm not going to hold these five to it, but typically absent a promotion, which, sometimes maybe a senior officer may promote prior to that. I would say our average for the officers that we have assigned here right now is in the 5 to 8 year range is when how long we hold officers for.
Good.
And that's by their choice once they've met their initial commitment.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
If I may, Chief, Vice Mayor Storer, James Lang, who's been one of our motor officers and has been here for, I believe, 7 years, Chief, just promoted to sergeant. So, unfortunately, we'll be losing James, but that's not unusual for our department.
Yeah. Well, the point is it's enough time for the officers and the town council and staff to get to know each other. I appreciate that.
Great. All right. Well, again, Chief, thank you. We look forward to a great next 4 to 8 years. And please reach out to any of us and let the chief know, or any of us know, if there's any additional resources that you need to help make this the best community possible. So thank you again.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. This will take us now to item number 5.2, and this is a proclamation recognizing February 2022 as Black History Month. Whereas during Black History Month, we celebrate the many achievements and contributions made by African Americans to our economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development. And whereas in 1926, famous historian Dr. Carter G. Woodson established what would become Black History Month to bring special awareness of African American accomplishments and their contributions to American history. And whereas the observance of Black History Month calls our attention to the continued need to battle racism and build a society that lives up to its democratic ideals. And whereas the town of Danville is committed to being an inclusive community in which all citizens, past, present, and future, are respected and recognized for their contributions and potential contributions to our community, the state, the country, and the world. And whereas the town of Danville is proud to honor the history and contributions of African Americans in our community and supports the theme of honoring Black families who are part of our town landscape. And whereas the town of Danville will join the nation in celebrating the 46th National Black History Month by honoring the essential contributions, sacrifices, and accomplishments of African Americans have made to the U.S. as part of American history. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Danville Town Council does hereby recognize the month of February as Black History Month and continues our efforts to honor the accomplishments of African Americans in every endeavor throughout our history. And that is signed by all of our council members. I would also like to dedicate that to a group of men, the Diablo Black Men's Group, for their absolute commitment to our community and to helping African Americans become leaders and be an integral part of the community, and to form leadership training and scholarships. And as you know, we've had 3 really outstanding people: the former Mayor Abram Wilson of San Ramon, Dozier Jones, Leadership San Ramon Valley, and also Mitchell Hobson, who is fairly new to the organization, both in Leadership San Ramon, but also on the Valley-wide diversity group. And I'd like to read one last thing, just to note one individual who made a difference in the country, Jane Bolin. Jane Bolin became the nation's first Black woman judge in 1939. She was the first Black woman to graduate from Yale Law School and was served on New York's family court for 4 decades. Besides dealing with domestic cases, she worked to stop probation officers from getting assignments based on the color of their skin. During her career, she also worked with Eleanor Roosevelt to create a program that would intervene to stop young boys from committing crimes. So thank you to fellow council members for supporting this. And this will take us now to our second proclamation tonight. And this is, I'm going to hold this one up because this is the one that was not in the package. And this is the one celebrating the Lunar New Year. And this is a proclamation in recognition of Asian Pacific Islander American Public Affairs Association, APAPA, and Bay Valley Chinese School, BVCS, celebrations of the Lunar New Year. And I would also like to make sure that we could, we'll bring in an attendees, Kay Wang and Margaret Lang. Marie, if we can, I'm going to ask them as we're presenting this to them. Whereas nonprofit organizations, APAPA and BVCS, have been celebrating Asian cultures, advancing community leadership, and providing multi-language resources to Danville and the Tri-Valley areas for over 20 years. And whereas by means of hosting various community events and encouraging residents to participate in local and regional cultural programs, APAPA and BVCS have played crucial roles in reaching out to the community at large and promoting cultural understanding and inclusivity. And whereas the Lunar New Year, also known as the Chinese New Year and the Spring Festival, is the most important holiday for the Asian community. It means great joy and happiness, togetherness with family, the closing of the old year, and the welcoming of a prosperous new beginning. And whereas Chinese New Year marks the transition between zodiac signs, 2022 is the year of the tiger, 2021 was the year of the ox. The Lunar New Year, starting on February 1st, 2022, brings the year of the tiger third in the 12-animal Chinese zodiac cycle. Whereas the annual Chinese New Year celebration not only provides an educational opportunity for the community to express the vibrancy of Asian traditions, but also opens up an opportunity for the community to embrace the cultural significance of the Lunar New Year. And whereas the Lunar New Year is the most important day and the day of the Chinese calendar, more than 1 billion people will feast with relatives, watch parades, and pray for good fortune in the year ahead. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Danville Council does hereby wish APAPA and BBCS every success in welcoming in the year of the tiger, and we wish good health and good fortune to all those who celebrate the Lunar New Year. Thank you to our fellow council members. And there they are, Kay Wang. Kay, welcome, and Margaret, welcome. Kay, would you like to say a few words? If you'll unmute there. Kay, we still need to get to unmute.
Okay.
There you go, perfect.
Yes, thank you. Today is the first day of the Chinese New Year. I would like to wish you a happy, prosperous, and healthy the year of tiger. My name is Kay, and on behalf of Bay Valley Chinese School, it's my great honor to accept the proclamation from the Mayor of Danville. Thank you all for recognizing our small school community service work. Half our school family are coming from outside of the United States. Participating in the community service is not just for our students and also for our parents. I thank you all again to open a window for us to engage with our big community. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. And welcome, Margaret. How are you today?
Hi, good afternoon and good evening. Thank you so much for the invitation. And it is true with, my name is Margaret, and I'm representing APAPA Tri-Valley Chapter. And it is with great honors that I'm representing the organization to accept this proclamation. And I wanted to note that Danville is such a wonderful city to live and always very inviting and embracing. And Lunar New Year, as mentioned, is the most important holiday. It actually started in the Shang Dynasty back in 14th century BC. So it's been a tradition for a long time. And this year, it is the year of the water tiger, which is the first in the 60 years. It only comes every 60 years. So, and it represents strength, bravery, and confidence. And it also served as a moral compass for many culture. And we hope that this year will certainly bring safety, health, and happiness to the city. And we hope to continue to help share about the Asian traditions and culture, and to promote more understanding of Asian history, and together become a greater and thriving, inclusive, and diversified community. Thank you all.
Great. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you for your leadership to both your organizations in producing leaders and in celebrating cultural traditions and welcoming people from every walk of life. Thank you so much. And Councilmember Stepper.
All right. Just a couple words, because I think it's very exciting that the invite goes both ways, and we appreciate all the events that you're bringing on the 6th at the lot in San Ramon. And it's not just one of you, I understand that, but these are things that are happening. And at the Bay area Chinese school is the Valley School is going to have an event on the 12th, and then the 19th is the regional parade. So I'm hoping that people in our community are going to take advantage of any of those groups. I think it'll be a great way to appreciate the drama that you bring with some of the performances that we're looking forward to seeing. So thank you very much for being here tonight. We're proud to give you this proclamation, and I will leave you with Xing Wen Hao.
Or Gong Xi Fa Shai in Mandarin and in Cantonese. Gong He Fa Chui.
Yes.
Well, and you know what's interesting is we've all learned this by participating with your events, by learning the culture through all of you. And it is such a wonderful opportunity for all of us to join your events and be able to dress in these beautiful costumes and be a part of that. And if you've noticed, I have my red on this evening as well.
Oh,
So I'm
nice.
celebrating.
Yes,
So
yes,
thank you both for being here.
Thanks.
You will get much good luck for the year. Robert?
Kay, Margaret, we are so pleased to have a relationship with not only the Bay Valley School, which I think this year is a 1 to 3 time start, isn't it? Not an evening program this year, it's an early afternoon.
That's an afternoon program.
Okay, good.
Outdoor, yes.
And we so appreciate our relationship, and we're looking forward to working with you in 2022. And if there's anything we can do on behalf of the town of Danville, we are very happy to work with each of you. And thank you for all that you do in the community.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. I'm going to go to Dave Fong, and also Kay and Margaret, you need to get together with Dave because he physically has the original 2 proclamations for you. So Dave, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'd love to present those personally to you, and I will do that soon. But again, congratulations. I think everyone has said it well. And Margaret, you and I even talked about it earlier, which is it's all about awareness and being able to share the Asian culture with our communities and making them a little more aware of the values, but more importantly, the inclusion that is so critical towards all of us working together, living together, and really supporting each other as well. So appreciate both you, your organizations, and all those that you represent as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay.
If it is okay, I also like to share that Apapa Tri-Valley chapter is hosting an Asian Heritage Showcase that will take place in May for the Tri-Valley. And it will take place in Dublin's Performing Arts Center. And we would very much like to invite all of you to attend the showcase. And, you know, we can celebrate all of the Asian culture at that time. So
Great.
We'll be honored.
We would be honored to attend as well. Margaret, thank you so much. Kay, thank you both so much for everything you do. Okay, this will take us to our next item, which is item number 6. Tonight, that is our consent calendar. And the consent calendar is items 6.1 through 6.7. And the consent calendar can be acted in one motion by the council as these are considered routine or have been previously discussed. However, if there's anybody on the council who would like to remove an item for discussion, we can do so. Is there anybody in the council like to remove an item? Seeing none. Also at this time, is there anybody in our attendee list who would like to remove one of the consent items for discussion? If so, please use your virtual raise hand sign and we will call on you. Marie, I don't see any. Do you see any there?
No.
Okay.
And I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda 6.1 through 6.7.
I'd like to second that.
Okay.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Moved by Karen Stepford, seconded by our rookie, Dave Fong. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Marie, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Councilmember Fong?
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan?
Yes.
Councilmember Stepper?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Storer?
Yes.
And Mayor Arnerich?
Yes.
The consent calendar was approved unanimously.
Great, thank you. Okay, this will take us now to our Item number 7, which is our town manager's report. And we look forward to hearing monthly from our town manager, Joe Calabrigo. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the town council. It's actually been a little less than a month since I last had the opportunity to give the council some updates, but I'll dive right in here because 2022, as you're all aware, is shaping up to be a very busy year for the town as we move forward with efforts to work with our community members to craft a new housing element and a new downtown master plan, among other things. And there's a lot of information on our website on both of these efforts. The town has launched www.danvilletowntalks.org as a convenient and we hope easy way for our community members to stay informed and participate in issues that matter to them. And this new platform provides several outreach tools and information for current projects, including both the housing element and the downtown master plan update. In fact, in the last 30 days, this website has had close to 4,000 visits. So a lot of interest, and interest is picking up. With respect to the housing element, this project has received about 1,500 visitors since the middle of last year. 484 of these visitors are classified as engaged or informed, meaning that they've interacted with the project page by commenting or downloading documents, following links, or watching a video. Some of the other things that we've done with our housing element outreach since we started this process last spring, we've hosted 6 different public housing element 101 sessions where we had over 120 participants and another 170 views on YouTube afterwards. In addition, we hosted 11 additional presentations to groups, including groups like our town commissions, the Realtors Association, Rotary, Exchange Club, Mayor's Town Talks, Kiwanis, American Legion, to name just some. We've had articles in our last 3 town newsletters, including the initial priorities survey that received over 100 responses. We've initiated 36 different postings on social media. This includes Facebook, Instagram, Nextdoor, and Twitter. Each of these postings reach anywhere from 940 to 1,700 people per post. And then we've had 8 articles that have run in publications from Danville, San Ramon, The Patch, the Valley Sentinel, and so on. We've got additional engagement expected when the Opportunity Sites Identification Tool and the Housing Plan Simulation Tool are released in March and in June, respectively. So continuing and will continue to our efforts to reach out into the community and make sure that they are as well informed and can be as engaged in this process as possible. The downtown master plan, switching over to that, we've received 3,600 visitors to our site since that project launched just last month. Almost 900 people have taken the online survey so far, and that survey will continue until Valentine's Day, February the 14th. Unfortunately, we have experienced some technical issues with the software that has made it a bit of a challenge for some folks to submit, but we would encourage them to keep trying as we try to work through and solve the glitches. We've hosted 2 separate outreach events besides the info that's being distributed at the farmers market each weekend by the town council. We have 2 intercept events that are coming up later this week, one on Friday that'll be held at Pete's Coffee, and one on Saturday at Costco. Courageous Jill Bergman will be working the event on Saturday as she strategically positions herself near the exit or the exit of the warehouse. We conducted some stakeholder interviews yesterday and today, two different sets of interviews with businesses, property managers, property owners, the Danville Area Chamber of Commerce, some of their board members. We had, I believe, between 40 and 50 people in all, and we'll be conducting a debrief with our consultant tomorrow to go over the information. And of course, we're looking forward to March 7th when the council and our commissions, the annual workshop will be used to provide additional feedback to the consultant as well. So a lot going on right now with both of those efforts, and we expect to see that continue for much of 2022. Let me switch back over and talk a little bit about COVID, because I think actually this is the first month that I haven't led with COVID, so perhaps we can take that as a positive indication. Omicron is continuing to be the story in the early part of 2022. We are continuing, along with the county and the state, to operate under a state of emergency due to COVID, and so we're continuing to follow all of the appropriate directives from the California Department of Public Health, the CDC, and our very own county. We, unlike other cities, haven't taken any steps to further limit our accessibility to the public due to Omicron, but we continue to monitor that situation. Per the Public Health Department's website, we've had 175,902 cases of COVID since the outset last March 2020. 23,417 new cases in the last 14 days. For Danville, between March of 2020 and December 15th of 2021, we had 2,709 reported cases with 25 deaths. As of February 1st, 7 weeks later, we have 5,211 cases. So we've had another 2,502 cases in the last 7 weeks. So that's a 92% increase, which goes to the transmissibility of this particular variant of COVID. And we have unfortunately had 3 more deaths in the last 3 weeks to increase our total from 25 to 28. When we look at new cases in the last 14 days, December the 15th, we had 74. Last Friday, the 28th of January, we had 832. So that looks to have been the peak of this Omicron variant for us. Yesterday, we were down to 692. And we're going to be watching these numbers to see them hopefully continue to come down for the balance of this month and on into spring. Switching over onto the economic development front, I spoke already about the downtown master plan update. Our town staff is continuing to work closely with the SWA group on this. As you are all aware, your homework assignments were due to Jill Bergman last week, and I'm not going to tell anyone watching the meeting here who turned them in and who didn't, but Jill is keeping track. As you're all aware, the temporary land use permits for expanded outdoor seating were extended by the council in December through June the 30th of this year, with follow-up scheduled the first meeting in April. Visit Tri-Valley is looking at renewing their tourism marketing improvement district that has been in place now for a number of years. They are proposing for the first time in a bit to increase the fee that supports that improvement district. Our lone hotelier, Best Western, is represented on the board of directors for Visit Tri-Valley, and they support this increase. So this is something that will be coming to council at your next meeting on February the 15th to make you aware of. And then with respect to community events, we're working on the staff report for the events that are going to be coming up in 2022, which, as I believe I mentioned to you last month, will include some expanded discussion about logistics modification to road closures to address heightened security concerns in light of what happened in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Forward focus grants, that project or that process is, has run its course. A total of 137 grants were awarded, totaling just about $490,000. And we are still looking at ways to utilize the business promotion grants that were appropriated in the budget this year, and also looking ahead to 2022-23 to see what kinds of new program ideas might be possible. On the finance front, December 31st marked the mid-year of our current 2021-22 fiscal year. All indications really are that our town budget is in good shape, with revenues very much outperforming our budget forecast. Our sales tax information that we've received for the third quarter of 2021, which is the most current information we have, shows that our Q3 sales tax for 2021 was up almost 18% over quarter three for 2020. So very good news with economic recovery continuing. We will be looking at making some mid-year expenditure adjustments in areas including building services to address workload permitting volume, in maintenance to address utility and gasoline costs, and in recreation, arts, and community services. The formal mid-year report will be on your agenda for your March 1st meeting this year. Finance is busy getting ready to roll out their budget preparation schedule for 2022-23, and they are also working on the first round of ARPA reporting for the American Rescue Plan Act, which is due April 1. On the legislative front, Mayor Arnrich just traveled to Washington, D.C. last month, along with some of our other Tri-Valley mayors, to continue our joint lobbying efforts and attend the U.S. Conference of Mayors. And I anticipate that you will be hearing more on that directly from the mayor a little later on in the agenda. The 2022 state legislature reconvened on January the 3rd, starting the second year of California's two-year legislative session. And we will be watching closely and expect to see the legislature continue their efforts to achieve housing affordability by introducing laws that spur housing production and supersede local land use authority. So your next full report will be coming up on that at your next meeting on February the 15th. Because I talked a little bit about some of the engagement efforts at the outset of my report, I wanted to just throw in some other statistics and information that I thought you might find interesting with respect to community outreach and engagement. And our public information officer, Nicola Shihab, does a wonderful job with all of this. But since the onset of the pandemic, visitors to our town website have increased from about 227,000 in 2019 to almost 399,000 in 2021. So it's a 76% increase. So we are getting a lot of visitors to the website. The annual visitors to our town's meeting agendas and minutes webpage have increased from just under 9,500 to over 11,000 annual visits. So about a 16.5% increase there, as well as folks are tracking council and various commission agendas. Community members are viewing recordings of our town meetings and webinars after their on-air date, and doing so with great frequency. Town Talks with the Mayor program has over 1,400 views. Town council meetings have over 1,100 views. By far the most popular is still the Chiefs 10-8 program that has combined views of nearly 6,000. And none of the numbers that I've given you reflect the number of attendees that are actually at the meetings or webinars when they are taking place. So these are all after the fact. On the IT front, our IT staff is doing a lot of work in preparation for the transition of service over to 500 Lagonda Way. I don't think that there's a spare inch of space left in that building for any more conduit to be run based upon my latest field trip that I took last week. The town meeting hall has now been retrofitted to allow for hybrid council and commission meetings, thanks to our city clerk, our city attorney, and the IT staff, and the whole team of people that they have put together to do that. So we were very much anticipating and looking forward to going to live/hybrid meetings starting this month, and then Omicron happened. And so at this point, tentatively, and with council's concurrence, we are targeting your second meeting in March, which would be March the 15th, as the meeting where we would go to live hybrid meetings. Police services, we are continuing to work with our fire district toward participating in their pilot program for mental health response, which is continuing in the development stages. Our officers were scheduled to attend some training last month, which was subsequently postponed due to Omicron. We're hoping that that may be able to resume in March. I know that Chief Sellover is one of the attendees at our meeting this evening. So shout out to the chief. Also want to thank the fire district for the assistance that they are giving to the town as helping us with doing some COVID testing for our staff, so that when people have either been exposed or are recovering and ready to come back to work, we can get some testing done over there at the district and turned around quickly, so we know if our folks are ready to come back to the workplace. The police department is doing some active threat training tomorrow. Just to follow up to one of the comments raised under good of the town, we have been continuing to follow up on the officer-involved shooting, most recently that resulted in the death of Tyrell Wilson. The coroner's inquest that we were originally told would be taking place in January has been pushed back, postponed by the presiding judge as a result of the Omicron variant. So, you know, we are hoping that that will be happening shortly, hopefully no later than early spring. Our district attorney continues to await the outcome from the coroner's inquest before they issue any other determinations or reports. And very pleased that you all got to meet our new officers tonight, and appreciative of the reception that they received. In development services, we've got 7 different neighborhoods that are currently in various stages of the neighborhood transportation management program. Our newest staff member, our transportation program specialist, Caitlin Costa, I am told by Andy Dillard, is already sort of waist deep in this and very much involved in working with and assisting Andy. Planning, you know, as we're all aware, planning is very fully engaged, working with our consultant to move forward with the housing element process. Again, lots of information on the website. Last month, I gave you an update on some of the various development applications that we have that are happening throughout the town. I won't revisit that again this evening, but I will do that periodically at my monthly meetings. We are off and running with implementation of Senate Bill 9, which is the legislation, as you know, that essentially ended single-family zoning in California. On December the 21st, the council adopted a resolution that identified objective development standards that we could apply to the future lot splits that were filed here. With both SB9 and I think especially with our accessory dwelling units, we are certainly already beginning to see the impact of some of these changes that the state has imposed upon local governments as more of our residents are becoming aware of this as the result of having removed all local discretionary approval authority. And I know from time to time, some of you pass along some of the concerns that you are receiving from residents in our community, because if they haven't been following this process, it's quite possible that the first indication that they're going to get that this change has occurred is when something happens in their neighborhood or right next door to them, which is unfortunate, but it happens despite all of the outreach that we have endeavored to undertake to avoid having that happen. In engineering and on the capital improvement program front, you will see some work begin this month along Diablo Road as work begins on some of the improvements that are associated with the McGee Preserve. So later this month, I believe around President's Day, we're going to see some work begin out around the Diablo Road Green Valley intersection. There will be some tree removal for some of the widening and intersection improvements that are getting ready to be built there by those project sponsors. On the pavement management front, the Cape Seal project that you approved in December is getting ready to start construction in February. That'll roll out with the new ADA ramps that need to be installed along the various streets that are going to be treated. We'll be doing some gutter replacement as well. So the actual Cape Seal work itself is probably still a couple of months down the road there, but that work is going to be off and running here pretty quickly. And with the Diablo Road Trail project that we are all anxiously anticipating, the preliminary engineering design is complete and the work is continuing on the environmental and geotechnical studies. And we expect that environmental work will continue well into the year. Last but not least, with the relocation of the police department and the town offices next door to 500 Lagonda Way, a lot of activity continuing there. Work on the new police department continues. You approved this evening a contract addendum for the phase 2 work on the town office side. The sign program for the project was approved by our design review board last month. And we are still, our best time frame at this point still has us looking to move the police department end of March, beginning of April, and end of June, beginning of July for everyone else. So we are planning your next field trip at your study session next month to walk you through the new facilities on the police department side, and I know you're looking forward to that. In maintenance, you may have seen some new statewide drought rules that went into effect on January the 14th for the next year. There are a number of prohibited activities that are part of that. Some of the activities that have an impact on our town operation, no water usage to use cleaning streets or washing or cleaning impervious surfaces like sidewalks, not allowed to irrigate turf on public medians, not allowed to water landscaping that results in more than incidental runoff, no irrigating turf within 48 hours of 1/4 of an inch of rainfall, and no filling or topping off of decorative fountains, lakes, or ponds. So Mr. Castile and our maintenance staff are adhering to all of these requirements, and actually have been since well before the new order came out. The work is continuing on the Diablo Vista Park field lighting expansion project, looking toward a March 1 completion date. Our friends at the Sports Alliance, who are generously funding this project, are also not letting any grass grow under their feet. They have a meeting tomorrow night to discuss how they will be allocating the additional field time that will be derived by the additional hours that those fields will be able to be used. Our maintenance staff have recently completed some safety surface repairs at the children's play area at Osage Park. They are busy working on ball field prep in advance of the March 1 reopening date. At Hat McGee Ranch Park, some exciting news. The Bounty Garden is working on a second phase expansion into the area where the old barn used to be. So they're going to be installing, I think, plus or minus a dozen or so additional beds in the spring, and they're going to be ready for the summer growing season. On a less positive note, because I haven't updated the council on this in a while, the vandalism that we experienced at the Eugene O'Neill commemorative over on Front Street that resulted in damage to several of those pedestals, we are continuing to try to get those pedestals repaired. The original fabricators of those pedestals had told us that it would be a while before they got to them, and I guess they meant what they said. Mr. Castile tells me that he has found an alternate fabricator that he believes can probably take care of that, and he is engaging with them right now to see if we can get that done sooner rather than later. And maintenance is continuing to work with the Transportation Authority and Caltrans, as we will be assuming the maintenance responsibility for the Camino Ramon landscaping sometime in the month of April. Last but not least, Recreation, Arts, and Community Services. Our spring activity guide has now landed in mailboxes. We encourage all of our community members to check that activity guide for all of the activities and programs that are being offered for everyone from the very young to some of us active adults. Registration starts on February the 15th for our residents, and then on February 22nd for all others. The Threads of Change exhibit opened at the Village Theater and Art Gallery on January the 20th and runs through March 11th. We are offering Monday Fun Day movies free every Monday at 1 o'clock at the Senior Center, and we'll continue to provide Friday frozen meals through June of this year. Our teen centers have reopened after the winter break. Teens and youth, we've got a lot of classes and activities that started up in January, and we're looking forward to more in the spring and in the summer. On the aquatics front, the construction on the new Monte Vista High School pool is continuing and looks to be complete by April. The district and the town will be meeting to work on a new use agreement for the new pool. And we're looking forward to continuing to offering our aquatics programming at both high school pools this summer. And then just some other news. Chief Paige Meyer is going to be attending our council's meeting on February the 15th to provide you with an update of what's going on with San Ramon Valley Fire Protection District, the age-friendly roadmap, which we have been anxiously awaiting, will be coming to the town council with a recommendation to move forward from our senior advisory commission. That will be on February the 15th as well. We are planning to conduct joint workshops this year with the town council and each respective commission, joint study sessions, if you will, as you did last year. So we are searching for dates right now that won't conflict with other meetings, and we'll have those for you shortly. And pleased to say that our annual Council Commission workshop will resume on something of a limited basis this year. We'll resume in person. That's going to be at March 7th at the Community Center. So the topic will be the new downtown master plan. We will not be doing a dinner afterward this year, but certainly hoping that by the time 2023 rolls around, we will be in a position to be able to do that. So I want to urge anyone who, any of those 1,100 folks or others who are going to view this meeting after the fact, please visit our town website at www.danville.ca.gov or follow us on Facebook or Instagram. And I thank you, Mayor and Council, for your attention this evening, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Joe, thank you for, really fantastic updates. The statistics are amazing. Engagement is increasing, as I think we have also made our access to that engagement even better. So well done. Karen?
Oh, right. Just one quick comment. I think it was very exciting when you said that we were expanding the bounty garden because we've been trying to determine what would happen with the old barn, and that expansion is going to provide more food from our people in our community who spend a lot of time there growing the food for the food bank and giving it to those who need it the most. So thank you.
Robert?
Good. Joe, as always, thanks for the report. Always appreciate the updates. Are we looking at a field trip to the police station here in the near future?
Yeah, I would suggest that we include that as an item on your study session agenda for, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's March 8th, Marie. And yeah, we would like to do it then because it's going to be pretty exciting. We should be getting pretty close by March the 8th. Plus, we hope that we will have started on phase 2. And so some of the demo work will have been done on the other side of the atrium, and you'll begin to get a sense of how those spaces are going to tie together, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I certainly don't want to lose sight that, I know it seems like a long time ago, but when we were in March 2020 and we had our first meeting with you and we had to figure out how to either cut $3 million, $5 million, or $7 million out of our budget. And here we are today, certainly in a much better position. Come a long way, and I appreciate your leadership throughout this whole COVID nightmare to help us navigate, a course that clearly nobody's been on before, but we have sure come a long way since March of 2020 when, we thought this whole world was, difficult and challenging. So thank you. Thank you.
Renee?
Thank you, Joe. Once again, so informative, and I think it's so important for everybody to know what's going on from every department in the town of Danville. In reference to the drought and the notifications, do we plan on putting something out to the residents to let them know as well? Maybe in our next newsletter about the being drought conscious and what needs to be done in fountains and all that stuff?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Morgan. I think that's probably a good topic for the newsletter. It's easy for us to post that information on the website, but sometimes it works a lot better when it lands in 20,000 mailboxes.
True. And then one other question I had in reference to the Cape Seal, and I know that this is a new way we're doing it, but what about Sycamore Valley and on down to Camino Tasajara? Is that slated to be done as well? And pardon the pun, but is that, Cape Seal getting ready to be done in those areas as well?
Well, Councilmember Morgan, I can't tell you what specific material is going to be used. I know, with coming up, we have an overlay on Camino Ramon starting spring into summer, and then on San Ramon Valley Boulevard from Sycamore North, we're looking at an overlay. From Sycamore South, we're looking at some type of I don't know whether it's a Cape Seal, a slurry seal. And then we've also had some discussions about the segment of Sycamore Valley Road from the freeway out to Camino Tasajara, but that one is not on the schedule yet.
It just seems as though so many of the trucks come through that way, and I know we can't prevent that from happening, but they're making deliveries and those, it just seems that whatever we're using, I know we've done a really great job in making sure that the roads are always at a great, great number. We've always scored really high on that. But it seems like right now there must be a lot of deliveries going on with the rain and all of that. I was just curious to find out. So, but I will stay tuned, and thank you so much. I appreciate it once again.
I was just going to add on, Cape Seal doesn't really, we don't use that much on arterial because it's really paint. It extends the life on all those other ones. Those are patch and repairs, overlays. Those are really expensive projects, but.
Yeah, and it's just, and from that point also, Noel, it's to me, it's, we've tried a lot of different methods on those through roads like that. And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. It just, I guess, depends on that wear and tear as well. So it's kind of hit and miss, but whatever we can do, I appreciate it.
And if I may, Mr. Mayor, to something that Vice Mayor Storer mentioned just a moment ago in terms of the town having been able to navigate, chart a course through this pandemic, and now as we see recovery happening, having survived that, and I think made some changes that have us on a very positive course. Of course, want to appreciate the council's leadership on this, but also to acknowledge the fact that really all of our town staff really, pitched in and pulled together on this. And, in many instances with less staffing, but very much, I think, a team effort. And so we're certainly all very pleased as well to see the direction that things are going, and looking forward to restoring some of the positions that have been vacant for a couple of years or more with the upcoming budget cycle.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joe. Okay. Any other comments, questions? If not, we'll move on. This will take us, Joe, and thank you for that very extensive report tonight. This will take us to item number 8, which is communications. And tonight we are delighted to have our Contra Costa County Library Commissioner give a report of the Danville representative, Nicole Gemmer. Nicole, welcome back.
Thanks so much. Good evening, Mayor and Town Council members, and thank you for allowing me time on the agenda to update you on the Library Commission. I would first like to share an update on the leadership of the commission. I'm proud to say that I was elected as vice chair of the commission in November, and I look forward to an active and fruitful year for the commission in 2022. So what has been happening in and around the Danville Library in the last several months? First, we were all happy to see that book donations and pop-up sales were back in the Danville Library in the second half of 2021. The Danville Friends held 4 successful outdoor book sales from August to December, and it was wonderful to see the Danville community interact and further indulge in their love of books on site in front of the library. In addition, the Friends began accepting donations in November and continued to receive donations multiple days a week into January. In the last several weeks, a pause has been put on both acceptance of donations and the book sale events while we wait for the latest COVID surge to subside. But donation acceptance is expected to resume this Saturday, and the plan is for pop-up sales to resume in late February if county health metrics continue to improve. Despite challenging conditions, the library continues to make progress toward its strategic goals, and some examples that I want to share with you this evening relate to expansion of library accessibility. The first change that I want to highlight is the expansion of online help and tutoring. This includes programs that focus on research, job skills training, resume writing, citizenship process, and benefits help. And if you have issues or questions, library staff can be reached via phone, text, email, and chat. Finding help with online services can be difficult and is of particular assistance to seniors as COVID challenges cause more of a shift to the online domain. The recently added lendable Wi-Fi hotspots have also proved to be popular with the Danville community, and users have commented that it is reassuring to have a source of reliable internet service in order to access these programs and other online resources from home. This is in addition to the county Wi-Fi available in the library building and the town Wi-Fi available outside the library and the town green. And whether it's inside, outside, or at home, the demand for ebooks, online resources, and programs continues to grow. The last item related to library accessibility that I want to highlight is the change in fee structure for scanning and printing inside the library. This change waives charges for the first 10 pages printed, and a new service has been added to allow patrons to print from their wireless devices inside the library. This is a small change, but as you know, everyone hates to be nickeled and dimed. This change helps alleviate frustration and removes barriers to folks wanting to use the library. Similar to alleviating fines for overdue books, which happened just a couple of years ago, it reinforces that the Danville Library is an easy and welcoming place to bring information and people together. Two more quick items. So first, an update on library funding. As we discussed in my update in August, the county librarian made a proposal to the Measure X Community Advisory Board to fund additional open hours for libraries across the county. Although this proposal was not included in the list of programs to receive funds authorized by the Board of Supervisors to date for this fiscal year, there was strong support expressed for additional library funding from individual supervisors, the advisory committee, and the community at large. As of December, there remained $11+ million in uncommitted Measure X funds for the current fiscal year. At that time, the county librarian made a second proposal for $200,000 in ongoing funds to staff 2 mobile library vans and $8 million in one-time funds for deferred maintenance related to county-owned library facilities. In addition, a Contra Costa Library Foundation organizing committee was formed in 2021 to explore establishing an additional ongoing private revenue source for the library system. This committee also made a proposal for $300,000 in one-time Measure X funds to help establish the foundation and kickstart the funding of additional library programs. I am privileged to be a part of this committee, and I look forward to providing further updates as to the success of both of these proposals after the Board of Supervisors considers them later this month. The second item relates to training. The library staff is organizing a 3-part racial equity training series in the first half of 2022 that is targeted to library commissioners, friends, and foundation groups. The focus of the training will be the history of systemic racism in U.S. government organizations, personal engagement in anti-racism, and racial equity and philanthropy. I look forward to sharing key takeaways from these sessions and outcomes related to our library and library support groups. Finally, as COVID continues to abate in our community, we look forward to engaging the council and all members of the community in the addition of in-person library group events in 2022. We know the celebration will be big. As always, we can't wait to see everyone at the library. Thank you so much for your time, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Nicole, thank you so much. Wow, you are more engaged than I think anybody we've ever had on this. Thank you for stepping up to support on the foundation and all those other efforts. That's really, really well done, and a great cause. Robert?
Yes, Nicole, thank you for that wonderful report. In fact, my first thought when you started to give the report is I thought, Jesus, we made a really great decision putting Nicole on Library Commission. And thank you for doing such a good job and being so engaged and becoming a student of the game. So really appreciate all your efforts and thank you for representing the town of Danville.
Great, thank you.
Karen?
I just wanted to say congratulations for taking over the leadership that it takes to become the vice chair already. You're so new to the commission in a sense, and it just tells us how strongly we are represented, and appreciated your report because it demonstrated the same outgoing leadership in all those areas. So thank you, Nicole.
Great, thank you. Renee?
You just had a recent book drive. You said, when was the next one coming up where books are available? You know, we can drop them off, or?
Yeah, it's expected to start again this Saturday.
Wonderful. Okay,
and then
thank
it's
you.
Saturday, Monday, Wednesday.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. I thought I wrote it down right, but I wasn't sure. But once again, thank you. And thank you for all the information. We so appreciate it. It's so good to see that libraries are getting opened again and people are actually there and enjoying them. So thank you what you do, Nicole. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Dave?
Yeah, hey, Nicole, again, echo what everyone has said. Thanks for not just your participation, but your active participation and getting engaged in what's important for not just our community, but all communities, and that's our library system. You know, I had a chance to spend some time this last couple of weeks at the library. It's amazing how with the doors open, they will come, and they have come. And it's also amazing talking with some of the residents that the library has really extended its reach beyond just what's there in brick and mortar with their digital platform, and how many more people they've been able to reach, and the appreciation by the community on offering that that platform to them, and they look for more. So thank you for all you do, but as everyone has said, not just what you do, but how engaged you are in making a difference. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Dave. Nicole, I just add that, if you need support from us, from the town, for any of these measures or any of those issues coming up, please let us know right away. We can get a letter or whatever we need to get out ASAP. So again, as everybody said, thank you for your leadership on this. We always look forward to hearing from you and can't wait to see you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, this is great. This will take us to item number 9. This is a public hearing. And this is item number 9.1, which is to consider introduction of ordinance number 2022-01, adding a new chapter 2-26 to the Danville Municipal Code, establishing no campaign contribution limits for town council candidates. And tonight we're going to have Rob Ewing, our city attorney, present.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. It's a little unusual to have an ordinance that says you're not doing anything, but we'll explain that in a minute. Until last year in the state of California, local jurisdictions were given the flexibility to either impose campaign contribution limits for their elected offices or to do nothing. And Danville, like 80% of the cities throughout the state, did not have an ordinance, did not have any local campaign contributions. We were in the vast majority there. The state adopted AB 571, which in the absence of any action by local jurisdictions does impose a statewide limit on individual contributions to candidates for local office. And that limit for 2022 would be $4,900. It's the same limit that's applicable to contributions to those running for the Assembly or Senate. So we talked about this issue at your January study session. Basically, there's 3 options that AB 571 offers. First option is to do nothing and live with the new statewide limit on contributions. That was where town staff was initially headed with this until Marie discovered through her listserv and through the FPPC that by doing that, that would increase paperwork for all candidates and the town fairly significantly. So there is a collateral effect there of going along with the state limit. The second option is you can adopt a local ordinance, which would establish a local campaign contribution limit different than the state. Could be higher, could be lower. The downside to doing that is that if you adopt such an ordinance, the FPPC no longer, the Fair Political Practices Commission, is no longer in charge of enforcing that ordinance, meaning you, in this case, the town of Danville, would be in charge of enforcing any alleged violations of the ordinance. And that is just not something that we or most cities our size are set up to do. So the third option, and the one that we're recommending to you tonight, is to adopt a local ordinance which expressly says that there are no local campaign contribution limits. By doing that, you avoid the problem of creating additional paperwork for candidates and the town. You also avoid the problem of us having to do an enforcement action, because with no limit there would be no enforcement actions. Also, by doing this, in essence, what you'd be doing is continuing the status quo that we've had here ever since the town incorporated. We have not had campaign contributions, and you would not under this ordinance. All candidates would still need to file all of the required disclosure forms with the state and with the city clerk. So there would be no change in what anyone, either as a candidate or as a resident trying to track funding would see in the future. So with that, as we discussed in your study session, we are recommending that you introduce and read by title only ordinance number 2022-01, and that you bring it back at your February 15th meeting for adoption. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you, Rob. Just a gentle reminder, this is going to be a public hearing, so our procedure is any questions only, no statements at this point, and we'll open up the public hearing, and then we'll close that, bring it back to the council for discussion and action. Anybody have a question? Okay, seeing none, then let's go right to the public hearing on this. We'll open up the public hearing. Is there anybody who is attending on our attendee list who would like to speak on this item? If so, please raise your virtual hand and we will call on you. Is there anybody? Marie, do you see anybody there?
No, there are no speakers on this item.
Okay. We will then close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for discussion and or action.
If you're looking for a motion, I'd be happy to make a motion. Unless Renee, you were going to do it.
Nope, I was going to, but I'm happy to be a second.
Okay, it's been moved.
Introduce and read by title only ordinance number 2022-01, adding a new chapter 2-26 to the Danville Municipal Code, establishing no campaign contribution limits for town council candidates, and return for a second reading on February 15th, 2022.
Great, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Just a brief, quick comment. We should all remember, and anybody who's listening, who's ever run for office, this law did make a lot of other changes that are not subject to local control, closing campaign accounts, that you can't keep them open, that you must start a new one each time, and there's stricter rules if there are funds left over, how you can dispose of those funds and things like that. So with that, any other comments? Seeing none, Marie, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Fong,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Stepper,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Storer,
Yes.
and Mayor Arnerich.
Yes.
The ordinance was approved unanimously.
Great, thank you. And Rob, thank you, and Marie, particularly for bringing this item to our attention as well. So thank you. Okay, this will take us to item number 10. This is under administrative staff reports. Public comment will be invited. 10.1, this is consider adoption of resolution number 80-8-2022, approving the fiber optic communications network master plan as part of the fiber optic cable interconnect project. And tonight we're joined by Andy Dillard, our transportation manager, and Clancy Priest, head of our IT. Andy, I think, are you kicking this off?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Town Council. Thanks for having us this evening to come back to you with the consideration of adoption of the townwide fiber optic master plan. This has been an exciting, rather actually quick process, relatively speaking. And I'm going to go ahead and share a PowerPoint here. Okay, can we all see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Great, thanks. So the fiber optic communications master plan, just a quick review of the planning and kind of development timeline for this project. It is included in our current capital improvement program under A620, the fiber optic cable interconnect project. It has been in there for several years. To this date, primarily it has dealt with traffic signal interconnect and some communications infrastructure over the years, but we've moved on now to this master plan. Back in April 21, the town retained Advanced Mobility Group to help assist with the development of this master plan. And as most of you are aware, AMG is one of the foremost engineering consultants as far as fiber optics and intelligent transportation systems. They've been working quite extensively on the Innovate 680 project, so we were very lucky to have them assist us with the preparation of this plan. The plan was developed in coordination with the information technology divisions and transportation, kind of as a joint project. We worked on this through the summer and fall of 2021. And finally, as you all know, we presented the draft report to the town council at their study session on December 14th. And we'll talk a little bit more about the comments received and how we're going to address those going forward. So as a recap, why fiber optic communications? So fiber optics requires the bandwidth to handle all types of communication mediums. It provides high speed, high quality communication transmissions over long distances. It improves our cybersecurity capabilities. Data signals are more difficult to intercept using fiber optic technology. It's more resistant to electromagnetic interferences. It's reliable, it's scalable, you can expand the system. It future-proofs the IT network capacity to better accommodate new technologies that will be coming down the pike, particularly in the transportation industry. It's very cost-effective implementation in our case through the utilization of our existing traffic signal communications infrastructure. Because we have that conduit in the ground, it's a very cost-feasible project for the town versus if you had to go through the entire town, install all new brand new conduit, the magnitude of the cost for the project would be probably tenfold of what the preliminary costs are for this project. And of course, fiber optics would provide the backbone for smart city initiatives and solutions that I know we've all been hearing about over the last several years. So the build out objectives, what was the objective of this plan? So primarily it is to provide fiber optic communications to our town public buildings. And that includes, of course, our new town offices next door at 500 Lagonda, downtown, our Veterans Memorial Building, Senior Center, the town meeting hall, of course, Village Theater, the community center and library, and also our town service center to the east and Oak Hill Park Community Center to the north. And then the other piece to this and that I take great interest in, of course, is providing fiber optic communications to all of our traffic signals throughout the town. So the development and the scope of this, it's kind of a five-pronged approach for this high-level master plan. First, we assessed our existing conditions and communications infrastructure. Again, mostly that comprised of analysis of our existing traffic signal communications and interconnect system. And it was an analysis of communication and bandwidth needs and requirements specifically for our public buildings. We identified the gaps that we currently have in our infrastructure, particularly to our buildings, and then some of the gaps that we have to create what we call ring topology that I'll talk a little bit about here shortly between our traffic signals. We also did a high-level plan for fiber routing and facility connections, which again, we'll go over here shortly. And then we have some deployment options as part of this plan. The assessment of the communication needs. Again, as I've mentioned, we looked at the information technology needs. They have needs for stable, reliable, high bandwidth communications to town buildings and to improve cybersecurity. And I know that Mr. Priest will probably chime in here shortly and reinforce that need. Traffic signal operations to support interconnected traffic signals. Of course, we already have that, but the addition of new technologies such as video detection, adapting to emerging technologies such as autonomous vehicles and connected vehicle technologies, you really got to have that fiber optic backbone network in order to integrate those. Emergency and public safety, something very important, potential to link the police ALPR network to this fiber communications network as well. And then as well to potentially to other public safety entities such as fire. And then ultimately, as I mentioned earlier, this will get the town one step closer to being that smart city and developing that backbone infrastructure. And the 5 pillars of smart city backbone infrastructure is smart governments, environment, entire IT communications, mobility, and health. So this is a look, again, I know you've seen this many times over the years in various forms, but this is our traffic signal network. And again, everything that you see here we have is our traffic signals that are all fully interconnected with existing 2.5-inch conduit. And again, I can't stress this enough. This is what's key to making this a cost feasible project is the ability to use that existing conduit to pull in new fiber optics to get the signals connected with fiber. And then from this point on, we would connect to the town public buildings. So the fact that the town has invested in this interconnect system since inception, town incorporation is huge. So the proposed network. This is a high level look at what the proposed network could look like. To go to our town buildings would be a minimum of 12-strand fiber optic cables to get to our town offices and all the buildings that I mentioned earlier. But the primary backbone would be between 48 and 144-strand fiber optic cable that would link all the traffic signals. Primarily, it would be 144-strand. It could be as little as 48 out to areas such as the Green Valley Diablo corridor, where we don't have too much need for infrastructure out there. But this fiber optic backbone would really set up the town and give us a completely robust system to be able to adapt to future technologies in the future. Kind of a brief summary of the materials that we're needing. Again, this is a preliminary look at the engineering design that would be needed for this project. Would be about 105 linear feet of fiber optic, 105,000 linear feet of fiber optic cable, about 4,000 linear feet of new conduit, and that new conduit would only be needed to reach our public buildings from the nearest traffic signal. And that conduit size will be flushed out more in the design phase. It can be anywhere from 2.5 to 4 inches. 4 inches meaning that it would be able to house a very, very large fiber optic cable that likely the town would never need. But we have that ability. It also would require installing some pole boxes in the sidewalks, patch panels, which are panels that are installed at the public facilities as well as in the signal cabinets, and what we call splice enclosures to connect those to the patch panels. Not to get too technical there. So what would it look like? So the fiber optics communications network, again, this is again the traffic signal network with the overlay of the public buildings on top of that. And you can see that there's different color lines here. Those lines indicate groupings of signals. So there would be a fiber run on each of those runs of signals. And then the white boxes here, you can see those are our town facilities. And this view here in your right-hand corner of your screen, this is the downtown area because it's so dense. You can see which traffic signal it would interconnect to those buildings. So for example, traffic signal number 38 here, which I believe is Diablo Hearts, I think. That would connect to the Veterans Memorial Building, to the Village Theater Town Meeting Hall, and to the Danville Community Center Library. 55 is actually Hearts and Hearts Way and Front Street. That's the nearest signal to the library. So this is an example of what it would look like. And not to go too much in the weeds here, but the development of a fiber optic interconnect cable, you want to have redundancy in your network. So those are called rings when you create redundancy. So here you can see this purple line here to the left, and this is ring 1. So it basically goes down Diablo and El Cerro and it does a loop. And what that does is it provides redundancy in case there's a break in the line. You can ensure that you'll have continuous communications with the communications able to go another way around. Similarly, for the Camino Tasajara and Diablo area, that would be a potential future ring. We actually do have signal interconnect that goes down Old Camino Tasajara, but it does stop at Old Orchard. So we need a little piece there to connect it to Sycamore Camino Tas, and that would give us a second ring. So that's our existing network and what we're calling our interim fiber optics communication networks plan. So again, construction elements, the backbone network linking to the signals would be between 48 and 144 strand. Again, a very cost feasible solution because we're using that existing conduit. Again, the signal to building The traffic signal box to the building would be a minimum of 12-strand fiber optics, what we refer to as a pigtail connection. Again, we would utilize our existing conduit, which is 2.5-inch conduit for our traffic signal network currently, to run through that new fiber optic cable. The installation of new conduit spurs, again, to the public buildings, it can range anywhere between 2.5-4 inches. And again, that can be specified as part of the design phase. The preliminary cost estimates that are shown that you're about to see would include engineering design, construction management, any environmental clearances if we were indeed to get any sort of state or federal funds, and construction costs. This is a quick look at what a long-range plan would be. We already talked about the 2 ring structures that we can achieve with the interim plan, being Diablo El Cerro and Diablo Camino Tasajara. A third ring that is potential, although there would have to be a lot of coordination with San Ramon, would be able to go down Crow Canyon Road and back up Camino Ramon to create a third ring. That would require us doing some sort of partnership with San Ramon in order to utilize either their existing conduit or joint trench or some other sort of agreement to make that happen. But there is potential for that. And one thing that I do want to add is the town had enough foresight years ago to install interconnect conduit most of the way down Camino Ramon, almost to Fostoria. So that is already in place. So that's a great one there. So preliminary costs, as we talked about at the study session on December 14th, we have 2 scenarios, a design build and a design bid build scenario. The design build is much more cost feasible because the contractor or the firm who would be designing the project would be building it, versus design bid build, where you'd have a separate consultant design it and then you'd put it out to bid. And there's always variables and unknowns, so that really drives up your cost for that scenario. So of course, the design build scenario is, of course, again, much more feasible. This is a look at our current project funding status in the CIP. Our current appropriation is about $755,000, and that's made up of ARPA funds, which you recently appropriated funding to for this project, as well as there's additional funding and PEG funds. It's about $250,000, which would leave an estimated shortfall with the design build of about $835,000. So funding and implementation strategies with considering that shortfall. There's several options to consider. One is obviously always to pursue grant funding to make up that shortfall. In fiscal year 22-23. There are a couple of call for projects that are around the corner here. One that I learned of recently is the One Bay Area Cycle 3 grant. Of course, we're familiar with One Bay Area or OBAG 1 and 2, which is paid for paving projects, including the upcoming Camino Ramon project. Cycle 3 is around the corner. And from what I'm hearing from my colleagues at CCTA is that there is going to be areas where we may be able to compete under smart signals or intelligent transportation systems. They're going to have an area for that in Cycle 3. Also, the Highway Safety Improvement Program. This is another potential funding source to make up that shortfall. In addition to the funding shortfalls, other things that could be considered as an approach if we wanted to start a project sooner rather than later is to do it in a couple of phases. The first phase being, and of course, which would be the easiest, is just to handle the traffic signal network, because all that is basically doing is pulling out the copper and putting in the fiber and connecting those. Phase 2 could be later, if we weren't fully funded this year, to connect to our public buildings, which requires installation of new conduit runs and, of course, the fiber cable. And in addition, I'd also like to add that during the design phase, it'd be recommended that we develop alternate engineering estimates so we can look at optional conduit sizes and optional sizes for fiber optic cable. The plan is recommending 144 strand, which for the town of Danville would be more than plenty for our needs. But per the discussions at the study session in December, we heard from the council that there was a desire to potentially look at the maximum we could go for future leveraging of our system. So all those things are more detail oriented that we could flesh out certainly in the design phase and look at cost feasible options for that. So lastly, I'll wrap up here with the proposed schedule. So of course, tonight before you is the consideration of adoption of this master plan. Spring and summer, we would go after grant opportunities as I just described and develop and hopefully finalize that funding plan to build out the full interim plan. And then if we were successful, fall of 22, we'd release a call for bids for our design build approach. And then from there, move on to construction in 2023. So with that, happy to take questions. And again, we're joined by Mr. Priest, who I've been talking a lot here, so I'm sure he would like to chime in as well.
Clancy, you want to add anything just before we go to questions, comments?
Well, Andy's done a great job explaining what it is that he and I are trying to get accomplished here. It is from the IT perspective and from a smart city perspective, fiber is of course optimal for what we would want in the future. The ability to bring back high definition video from every intersection, just the communication systems alone, it's worth the time, effort, and money. But of course, selfishly, I would love to have broadband access to all of our town facilities. We are pre-positioned with our current technology that's in place in these buildings to enable a 10 gigabit connection to every building.
Wow.
Which I think I made this analogy in the study session. We would be going from like a 1-inch garden hose to an 8-foot storm drain in the amount of information we can push through. So, and this is something that I think for the future of the town would be a great asset.
Yeah, great. Also, I just want to say on behalf of the council, thank you for listening to us. You hit on a lot of the things that we were asking for. I also just want to share with you, based on the trip back to Washington, D.C., we met with both the Department of Energy, Transportation, and a couple of others. They all have and told us, we described the project that you have. First of all, you're further along than most other cities in terms of having this master plan. They allocated $1 billion specifically to do this. And they gave the money to each state. So state of California has, I'm going to be off, but it's $68 million set aside just for projects like this. And they wanted the shovel-ready projects. So all you have to do is submit, and this is under the Build Back Better. So while we can still apply for the other ones, Build Back Better. Townsend Associates, our lobbyists, have all the contacts here in the state of California. We should take exactly what you got together, fill the paperwork out, and submit it ASAP, because everybody else is going to compete. So I think timing is perfect. Even though we had to wait all these years, it's perfect timing to do this. So, Councilmember Morgan.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks once again. You know, we had this opportunity to review this and to see this up close and personal at our study session. And, you know, in terms of technology, you know, 5G radio waves are used for sending and receiving data, while fiber optic communications uses that light transmit data through fiber optic cables, which helps them to work kind of in a seamless connectivity together. My question is, for, you know, 5G has always been a hot topic, and obviously we've had that as a hot topic for the town of Danville. How will that affect the future of, you know, the 5G network, as well as small cell sites needed for that type of technology?
You want me to take that, Andy?
Yes, please.
They're really two separate technologies, basically, although both are communication technologies. 5G technology is, of course, a wireless technology that would work through cell phones and those sort of things. Whereas with fiber optic, it's a hard connection, as we would call it in IT. So they're really two separate animals. The only thing that's used within the cell network, the only fiber that's used is just the fiber used to interconnect those different cells. So that would be the only segue between the two technologies. Does that help?
Yeah, that seems, I just kind of trying to figure out how it would alleviate that, or how we could interact with those two, because I was trying to think if, one's used for, I attribute fiber optic to those little toys we used to give kids, right? With the little, the light on the ends and all that. It's kind of how I see fiber. Exactly. That's how I see fiber optics. Yeah. And then I think of 5G as a radio frequency, and, we're trying to get connectivity and all that. So just curious if they can work together or if they can't, but no, I appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen?
Yes, I wanted to ask you a question about the third ring of redundancy that's not proposed at this point in time because it was going to require some interaction with San Ramon. But what is the status of San Ramon and the fiber optics and Crow Canyon, which is the area we're talking about?
I can take that one. Thank you, Councilmember Stepper. So San Ramon a couple of years ago approved their own master plan. I believe they call it a intelligent transportation master plan, a little fancier name than ours. So it deals a lot with other transportation technologies, but I do know they have some conduit. I don't think they have any fiber in the ground as of yet, to my knowledge, but they do have an interconnect system, although I don't think all of their signals are fully interconnected yet. So they do have a plan, but beyond that, I don't know how far along they are as far as implementation.
Okay, so we're going to look at that down the road. I got it. Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Robert?
Yeah, just a couple simple questions, Andy or Clancy. Changing technology over the years. What's the life expectancy of a system like this?
From the IT perspective, it's the use of fiber optic technology has been around for quite a while now. And the base of that technology is the actual cable that's ran. By running fiber optic cable the way we're proposing, I would feel confident in saying that's 30, 40, or 50 years worth of use out of this.
Oh, that's the number I was hoping you were shooting for. So when we're looking at the third ring, and to sort of piggyback on Karen's direction of questions, do we need to work with San Ramon initially, or are we sort of working independently and then we come together on the Crow Canyon component?
Yeah, the master plan describes that as a long-term strategy. We are looking to create as many rings as possible, and we haven't even talked to them about the possibility of sharing their conduit. But that's definitely something that would be down the road, and it's not critical to do what we're calling the interim plan that we want to do right away. It would be at a future date.
But are those conversations connected? So for instance, we have to put this in the ground first before we have the conversation on the third ring, or are we working concurrently with this first phase? Let's call it the first phase.
I think starting a conversation with them is whether we intend to do it now with this first phase or later. I think it's timely to do that. But again, it's not critical to what we want to do here out of the gate.
It's a standalone link.
Yeah.
And it would be standalone for sure.
Yeah, it just adds redundancy at a future day.
Yeah, love it. And it's AMG, let them know that their master plan report, really easy to get through. I mean, it's complicated information, but they did it in a way that you can understand it, and it makes a great deal of sense. And I appreciate both of you working on this. Really well done.
Great. Dave? Any questions?
Yeah, two questions for either Andy or Clancy. First, is Danville, I should say, the county or the Danville unincorporated a partner that we need to be working with? Because obviously they, we have intersections where it's not San Ramon, but it's the unincorporated. And then the second question is, as a resident or part of the community, what does that mean to me as a resident of the community? And how will that affect me with what the town plans on building out in the way of fiber?
Thank you, Councilmember Fong. So to your first question regarding the county, we do share traffic signals with the county, although we own the majority of them. For example, on the east end of town, some of those signals are technically like one leg of those are in the county. So when we pay maintenance, we only pay 3/4 of the bill for one intersection. But to your point, certainly before we go to the next phase, which is design, we will certainly be in contact with them to let them know of what our plans are. We really don't have infrastructure within Danville that would affect them with this project. But we definitely want to collaborate with them as well as CCTA, who is actually working on putting together a countywide fiber project, which would handle a lot of the unincorporated areas. So in terms of that, we're in communication through the Innovate 680 project of what we're all respectively doing. And they're aware that we've done this fiber, or we're in process of doing this fiber optic plan. So when CCTA and the county come together for their own project, it's going to be as simple as just integrating or tapping into what we already have with our network. Now, I will say there are traffic signals at the east end of town, and of course, public safety services far out in Dorsey Valley, which Camino Sahara, obviously has a lot of signals out that way. So, there could be potential that they would want to, piggyback with what we're doing at some point someday to continue that fiber optic network run in some capacity. So there's a countywide connectivity.
So am I hearing that we move forward and we build out the infrastructure, because obviously they may be lagging behind and now they want to piggyback onto what we have built. The opportunity is to charge them for that use. And therefore we're able to distribute the costs accordingly. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, there's potential for that. So when we say build it, particularly out Camino Tass and Sycamore, we're already using our existing conduit. So what they would be using essentially is tying into the existing fiber to communicate on their end of things, which would could potentially link to the north end of the county. So they would be basically, tapping into our existing fiber, because we're going to have leftover strands with whatever we put in the ground that potentially could be used by other entities.
Okay. And then the second question was, as a resident of the community, what does it mean to me with what the town is doing?
Take a shot at that, Andy. Well, first and foremost, of course, it's going to improve our transportation control system, but also it will add an advantage to public safety with the monitoring of intersections. High quality video can be brought back into the PD central offices. On the other side of it too, it will improve communication between the various arms of the Danville municipal government. So we'll be able to have more and faster and easier communications between each of our divisions and departments. And it will, in my opinion, there's a big movement out there. I'm very active in the IT municipal space, and there's a big movement out there for this sort of thing. And although I'm not an advocate of what I like to call bleeding edge technology, but I am an advocate that we have tried and true and solid technology that keeps up with the changing times. And with the advent of, literally everything we touch, do, work with is got technology interwoven into it. And this is a step in the direction to give us the platform to enable those technologies.
Thank you, Clancy. Great answer.
Great. I would just add that the other thing is the smart car technology, which will be available in cars in about 3 to 4 years, requires that all of these signals have that, because it's going to send data back and forth. Tesla is really on the leading edge of that. So, given how many Teslas we have in our community and that technology, we're going to be really well positioned. Okay, any other questions before we go to open the public hearing for public comments? Okay, seeing none at this time. If there's anybody in our attendee list, if you would like to comment or ask a question on this, please raise your virtual hand and we will call on it. I do not see any. Marie, do you see anybody there?
I don't see any speakers for this item.
Okay, then we will close for public comment and we'll bring this back to the council for comments, actions, any other questions? I would just add that Renee's question was talking about if you think about 4G, 5G, and the new 6G that they're already working on, it's dependent upon a backbone of fiber. And what companies decided was it's too expensive while they run down the street, go from that street into the house with a wire, with fiber, and it's high maintenance. So they want to use the small cell site technology, which has pretty good reliability and it's cost effective. We effectively are putting in, or we already have invested in today's dollar, a $20–25 million network system that if we started from scratch, we'd be spending $30–35 million to put this in. We have the opportunity to lease those main trunk lines, particularly the arterial streets, to a variety of companies and even some public ones. But we'll, as a community, we'll be so far ahead of others in terms of really getting that capacity underground and ready for our community.
So with that being said, I'd like to move that we adopt resolution number 8-2022, approving the fiber optic communications network master plan as part of the fiber optic cable interconnect project, which is our CIP A-620.
Thank you. A second?
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further comments, discussion? Seeing none, Marie, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Councilmember Fong?
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan?
Yes.
Councilmember Stepper?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Storer?
Yes.
And Mayor Arnerich.
Yes.
Resolution was approved unanimously.
Well, and thank you, Andrew, Clancy. This is exciting. I know it's not a building and we're not going to see it, but we're going to feel it. This is really exciting stuff to bring Danville into the 21st century. So thank you guys and look forward to hearing from you for updates.
Yeah.
Okay, this will take us now to item number 11, Town Council reports. I'm going to start with a brief one on the DC trip. Myself and Dave Hudson, Mayor of San Ramon, and Melissa Hernandez, Mayor of Dublin, actually ended up making the physical trip. The other two did not for health reasons. It was an interesting time. It was a limited conference, but probably one of the best ones because you got to spend more time with more other mayors. You could get into all of the subcommittee meetings easily, although the rooms were full. You had to be tested every single morning and before you could go anywhere. So you would go to get your test, sit in the lobby, wait on your phone, and they would text you, and you had to enter codes, and you hesitated just before you hit that to know. We'd all packed extra clothes and everything, not knowing. And also the hotel had no room service, so we didn't know what plan B was. But the good news was you couldn't be at the conference unless you were fully vaccinated and boosted. So it was really, really a safe environment. The other thing, and this was just fairly visual, a lot of young mayors, it was limited to about 220, somewhere around there. More than a third of all of the mayors were African-American, and most of them were newly elected within the past 15 months. They were excited, they were there, they were talking I felt like the old guy because they actually asked me questions about how you did things. It was exciting. We did have we had 4 of the cabinet members that ended up coming see us. So we didn't have to go to the White House or up the hill. President Biden also came in the afternoon on the last day, and the room was full. And we did have, through our lobbying associates, Townsend and them, we did have one-on-one meetings with the Department of Transportation, the FTA, DOE, housing, all of them. They had one simple message: you qualify for all of these funds, and we have to get our applications in. And if you don't think you qualify, submit. And in fact, we've invited part of the DOE, 2 of the team members. One is assigned now to the Western region, Pacific California, the West Coast. They're flying out here to do interviews with ourselves and other staff members and asking us questions how to write the rules. They don't make the policy, but they can write the rules. How to write the rules so it'll best fit us. Their job is get the money in the hands of city to build this infrastructure. It was probably one of the most exciting times because there's so much money there. As we've seen through the ARP fund, what we've been able to do, that there are a lot of opportunities, and particularly as a region. They also said individual cities going to the federal government, don't waste our time. If you can't come in as a group, they are so big, they say, don't waste your time. We won't be able to deal with small requests. We just can't. So the good news is the Tri-Valley is now nearly 400,000 people. That wakes them up. That is now one of the more major metropolitan areas in the US. So more to come as the teams start to come back from Washington, DC to meet with us out here, and we'll get more updates on that. And any other council reports from anybody?
No, but I will say I appreciate you representing Danville and Washington, DC, Newell, and thank you for doing such a great job there.
It was great. It past 3 days, no breaks. Karen?
All right. Sorry, another quick update with respect to Valley Link, because we did have each of the members of the board of directors met individually with all of the officers of that organization. So Michael Tree, who will unfortunately be going completely back to LAFTA because he has family issues as well. He's just done an amazing job. We went through the evaluation. Kevin Schneider, who he had brought on board earlier. And in fact, he's going to be taking over as the CEO. And they're now hiring the second deputy, and that person's already been identified. So it's going to be a smooth transition of some really expert engineers that know people around the country. Thank you.
Michael Tree was incredibly well known by everybody in Washington, DC. They all knew about this project. It's a high priority for them. Again, I think the stars are lining up.
He's been amazing to work with, Michael.
And
Karen,
they specifically want to come out.
Sorry, what?
I was going to say, they specifically want to come out and meet Michael's replacement. Robert?
Yeah, I was just saying, Karen, thanks for that report. Thanks for serving on that committee as well. What's San Joaquin Valley's position on money? Are they starting to collect some money for their portion of it? I know we're pretty well funded on the Alameda County side.
Well, there's going to be a great deal more time spent on how the fundraising is going to be done. They needed more staff, and that's what they've got now to do that.
Got it.
Last update, Town Talks this Friday, 9 a.m. It's on recreation, arts, community services. We'll have our whole recreation team there, and you're going to find out about the history. What happened? Danville got into this. We weren't originally in recreation. How did we get here? Where are we headed? And what are the exciting things of 63 pages of really cool stuff? With that, if there's nothing else, I would like to, it was a very sad day. If you saw the news, there were 2 police officers that were killed, unfortunately. Bridgewater College campus. It's a small private college in Virginia, 1,500. There was also a shooting at a school for special needs students. One student died, the other one is in critical care. It is so sad, the violence that we have and the threats of all of the Black colleges across the United States yesterday. I hope that we as a council can say together that has to stop. We need to do things differently. So with that, in honor of those two officers and their lives lost, I will close this meeting today and meeting adjourned.
Great, thank you.
Thank you to everybody.
Thank you.